scholars and teachers, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be reviewing expository or informative writing for the ECR, where we focus on the DOC. So let's get started. In today's lesson, we will review how to compose an extended constructed response or essay. All right, scholars, it's question time. What is the purpose of writing an extended constructed response anyway? Well, 1, to demonstrate your understanding of the text you read. 2, to demonstrate your understanding of the writing task. And 3, to demonstrate that you can answer a text-based prompt and provide relevant text evidence and reasoning, that is, explanations, to support your response. These are important skills. All right, scholars, so today we'll be using this poem as our text for our extended constructed response. Read the poem one Saturday. Based on the details in the poem, write a response to the following. Explain how the speaker's feelings about the grandparents change as they spend time together. Write a well-organized essay that uses specific evidence from the poem to support your response. So students, you would have already read this poem once when you read it in the reading section to answer the questions. Now you want to read it again, this time with the lens of the speaker's feelings about the grandparents and how they change as they spend time together. So always remember to go back and read that text again, this time looking for the specific things that are in the prompt that you need to respond to. So let's read one Saturday. My grandparents are both really great, but I've never stayed with them alone. And so I'm nervous as I leave the car, keeping my voice a steady, even tone. So let's stop right here. We see in the first stanza that the speaker thinks that his grandparents are really great. So we can infer that they have a relationship, like he knows who his grandparents are, but he tells us that he's feeling nervous because he's never stayed with them alone. So I know I can include that in my response. Let's keep reading, starting at line 5. My parents told me to be good, and I vowed to do my best. Be good, help out, obey the rules, and try not to get stressed. Okay, so he's a little bit stressed, again, because he's never been with them alone. And the parents can see that he's a little bit nervous. Okay, stanza 3. Grandma's kiss brushed my cheek like the wings of a butterfly as Mom and Dad drove away, waving their goodbye. Oh, that's so sweet. Grandma's kiss felt like the wings of a butterfly. So that's letting me know a little bit about Grandma and how she is very gentle and soft to him. So right away, the speaker's tone about his grandma is letting me know that he's beginning to recognize that he'll be safe. He'll be all right. So I'm going to draw a little happy face there. Stanza 4. We're going to have some fun, you know, my winking grandpa said as his giant bear paw hand ruffled the hair up on my head. Okay, so grandpa's playing with him a little bit, and maybe his tension or his nervousness is beginning to ease up just a bit. A woodland hike exposed the lake ringed with massive trees. The deep blue water shimmered with the whisper of a breeze. All right, so in this stanza, we learned that they took a hike and they're in nature because they saw a lake and lots of trees. He's looking at the deep blue water and he describes it as shimmered with the whisper of a breeze. So I can infer that he's feeling pretty comfortable with them right here as he's appreciating this hike. So this is an activity that they're doing together. They're taking a hike together. So I can infer that the speaker's attitude is changing right here because he's no longer talking about being nervous. He's talking about the things that they're doing. Next stanza. Back at home, Graham drafted me to help her make our dinner. which compared to mac and cheese would be the proven winner. All right, so here we have Graham, and she drafted me to help. So again, they're doing things together. This time he's helping her cook dinner, and he calls it a winner. So maybe he thinks that the food that she cooks is delicious. When he says compared to mac and cheese, I don't know if mom fixes mac and cheese. It sounds like he's a little bit tired of mac and cheese. And what I know is a lot of grandparents really cook delicious meals, and so I can infer that the speaker is feeling pretty good. He's had a hike, and now Graham has drafted him to help her make dinner. So again, they're doing things together. When dark of night draped the sky, the three of us lay down outside on blankets spread upon the green grass cushioned ground. All right, so they've been together all day, and now they are laying out in the night draped sky. The language that the speaker is using, the green grass cushioned ground, helps me know that he's feeling kind of comfortable. He's not complaining about laying on the ground. It's green, it's cushioned, and there three of us are laying down looking up. Let's read the last two stanzas. Black velvet studded with bright jewels, Grandma uttered with a sigh. That's the picture that I see when gazing at night sky. And listen to what the speaker says. The gems that sparkle in my life, I can touch as well as see. They're lying on their backs right now, on either side of me. Wow, I can tell that the speaker really loves and appreciates his grandparents, because my is emphasized here, and he calls them the gems that sparkle. So gems are beautiful and bright, and some gems are valuable. So the gems that sparkle in his life, he says he can touch as well as see. See, the stars that Grandma was looking at, she can't touch. But he says, I can touch as well as see. And then he tells us who he's talking about. They're lying on their backs right now on either side of me. So you have Grandpa, the speaker, and Grandma. And he's right there in the center, like a sandwich, like a piece of sandwich meat right between Grandma and Grandpa. He calls them jewels. So how the speaker's feelings about the grandparent change as they spend time together. I've identified at least three feelings. Before they spent time together, the speaker was nervous. And then he began to get more and more comfortable in these stanzas. And down here, he seemed just elated and very, very much at ease with them. All right, so once we kind of go back and annotate, make some notes about how the speaker's feelings changed about the grandparents, it's time now to take our essay to the next level and really focus on Doc. All right, students, let's dive into understanding the prompt and writing task. So here's the prompt one more time, and let's go through the steps. 1, your writing task will most likely begin with the word explain. That sentence will tell you exactly what to write about. Explain how the speaker's feelings about the grandparents change as they spend time together. 2, the sentence below the prompt will tell you how to write it. They want you to write a well-organized essay, and they want you to use specific evidence from the poem to support your response. So there's no guessing about what to do. They'll tell you exactly what to write about and exactly how to write it. Remember, this is a response to your reading. You want to respond to the prompt to demonstrate an understanding of the text you read. All right, scholars, let's jump into the DOC. Our D stands for Development of Ideas. 1, your claim, opinion, thesis, controlling idea is clearly identifiable. Your focus is clear throughout the response and your writing is easy to follow. Number two, your text evidence is specific, well chosen, and relevant to the prompt. And three, your expression of ideas is clear and effective by choosing specific and purposeful words that enhance your response. All right, scholars, let's move to the O of our DOC. O stands for organization. Organization is a huge part of the planning for your ECR. Your organization needs to be effective, and you need to ensure that you have included an effective introduction and conclusion for your ECR. You can do this by focusing on a beginning, a middle, and an end. In the beginning, you introduce your thesis, your idea, your controlling idea. The middle is where you develop those ideas and provide the text evidence, and then you end it with a concluding statement or a short conclusion paragraph. 4. Sentences and paragraphs are effectively connected with transitions. Transitions help build organization. And 5, the organizational structure helps to develop your claims or your thesis, your reasons, ideas, and your explanations. All right, scholars, let's jump into the beginning or the introductory paragraph. So here is my prompt, and I need to first introduce my essay focus because my number one task is to clearly state my central idea. So I borrowed some language from the prompt. I'm going to use this introductory statement based on the details in the poem, and I'm going to borrow some of the language from the prompt. So I came up with 3 ways I could do it. One easy way is based on the details in the poem, I will explain how the speaker's feelings about the grandparents changed in a few ways as they spent time together. Now, I know that the paragraphs that follow, since I said in a few ways, I'll need to have different paragraphs that explain how the feelings change. And an easier way is I could go ahead and answer the question. Based on the details in the poem, I noticed how the speaker's feelings about the grandparents changed as they spent time together because I could just go ahead and say what I'm going to talk about. Because the speaker went from being nervous to adoring his or her grandparents. So I could go ahead and just put my answer there, and then I know that in the paragraphs below, I will develop these ideas. Or the easiest way for me is I could say, based on the details in the poem, I can explain how the speaker's feelings about the grandparents changed from nervous to enjoyment and being totally comfortable with his or her grandparents as they spent time together. So here I've listed the 3 changes that I identified from reading the poem. At first, he or she was nervous. Then as they did activities, they were fine, they were enjoying themselves, and then being totally comfortable. So those are the 3 things that I'm going to talk about. So an easy way is you could just go ahead and write them in the thesis or your controlling idea. Tell them what you're going to talk about, then talk about it, and then tell them what you told them. So those are 3 ways that you can clearly state your central idea, and that begins your D in your DOC for you to develop, because you know that these are the ideas that you're going to develop. And then the organize is you're going to put these different ideas, nervousness in one paragraph, enjoyment in another paragraph, and being totally comfortable in another paragraph. All right, now that we have our central idea, the next step is to organize your writing by using transitions to introduce your ideas, text evidence, and reasoning. Transition words and phrases connect ideas, have a specific purpose, and creates an effective structure. And we're going to write in paragraphs. That's a great way to organize. So for every new idea, we're going to create a new paragraph. So going back to our rubric, we have already had our clearly stated our central idea. And now this is a teacher exemplar that I've kind of color coded so that we can organize our writing. So, paragraph 2, I wrote, at the beginning of the poem, the speaker is nervous about spending time with his grandparents. In stanza 1, the text says, but I've never stayed with them alone, and so I'm nervous as I leave the car, keeping my voice a steady, even tone. This shows that the speaker is feeling a little nervous to go with them without his parents. The next paragraph. Now, I wouldn't write paragraph 2, paragraph 3. This is just in my organization. Of course, I would not write this in my essay. So then I'm going to begin a new paragraph, and I'm going to write about the next feeling. Here, I wrote about the nervous feeling. Once the speaker gets to his grandparents' home, they begin to do things together. As they do different activities, the speaker begins to feel more comfortable. According to the text, the speaker and his grandparents go on a hike, and he helps his grandmother cook a delicious dinner. Based on the details in the poem, there's that phrase again, I can tell the speaker is feeling more comfortable. Stanzas 4 and 5 show that the speaker is feeling more at ease. It says they took a woodland hike, exposed the lake ringed with massive trees. The deep blue water shimmered with the whisper of a breeze. Back at home, Graham drafted me to help her make our dinner, which compared to mac and cheese would be a proven winner. This evidence shows that the speaker is actually having a good time with his grandparents. They're like peas in a pod. My next paragraph, paragraph 4. Again, this is just for organizational sake. You do not write the paragraph numbers when you're writing your ECR. I began with some evidence. In lines 25 through 36, and then I state my idea. I can tell that the speaker adores his grandparents. So we've gone from nervous to feeling comfortable to adore. These are the ideas I'm developing. Let's continue reading. He is not nervous anymore. He appreciates them. The text says, when dark of night draped the sky, the three of us lay down outside on blankets spread upon the green grass cushioned ground. The positive language helps me to know that the speaker is feeling more positive about being with his grandparents. Also, when the speaker says the gems that sparkle in my life I can touch as well as see, they're lying on their backs right now on either side of me, I can tell the speaker loves his grandparents and feels lucky to have them in his or her life because he called them gems that sparkles, and that's so sweet. So I have developed my ideas in detail. I have organized my writing in paragraphs by using transition statements, by stating my idea, providing text evidence to support it, and then providing an explanation in my own words. So I've developed my ideas in details, and I've used specific evidence from the selection in my response. So you see the color coding on the screen. The turquoise are the transition words. The gray areas are my ideas about how the speaker's feelings change, and the green, these are my explanations and idea development. And in red, these are my well-chosen text evidence. So this is a great mentor text for you to use and emulate until you can use it on your own, and then you could add whatever type of additional things that you want to add, but these are just the basics, right? All right, let's move on. All right, scholars, we are still in the O because we need the conclusion. So we are still organizing. We've got our beginning, we've got our middle, so the conclusion is the end. A conclusion must be present in your ECR. It's part of the rubric. Then next you want to introduce your conclusion with the transitional phrase, such as in conclusion, or to sum it up, or in summary. And then your conclusion will be your last paragraph or your last sentence. So I've just added a quick little conclusion here that's 3 sentences. In conclusion, the speaker's feelings about his grandparents changed for the better. I can infer that the speaker will look forward to visiting them again. Next time, he probably won't be nervous at all. All right, that's just a quick way to summarize and tell the audience or the readers what I what I've already told them in a different way. So this is part of a well-organized essay because we need to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. To just stop at the middle would not be a fully developed essay because we have to close it up. So that's why a conclusion must be present in your ECR. All right, now the C in the DOC stands for conventions. And I've just have some friendly reminders for you. Your conventions, your conventions, your conventions. Students, don't forget your conventions, please. Oh my goodness, the conventions are so important. You do not want to spend all of that work writing a fabulous ECR and not triple check for your conventions. So after you have written your response, read it aloud to yourself. Yes, whisper read it a few times. The first time you whisper read it to yourself, you want to go through and check for capitalization. Yes, make sure every sentence begins with a capital letter. Make sure the word I is always capitalized. I is always capitalized. If you used any names in your response, make sure the first letter of the name is capitalized. Then, after you have read it through, checking for capitalization, you want to do what? Read it again. Yes, read your response again. This time checking for end marks. Make sure every sentence has an end mark. An end mark is either a period, a question mark, or an exclamation point. You do not want your beautiful essay to be one big gigantic run-on sentence where you want the reader to stop and come to a full stop and break. Make sure you put a period there or a question mark or an exclamation point. Make sure commas are where they need to be and don't overuse them, right? Next, you want to check for the spelling of words. If you are unsure how to spell a word, you can use the dictionary, use a thesaurus, or if worse comes to worse, spell it like it sounds so that the reader can figure out what you're trying to say. It does not have to be perfect, but you want it to be as correct as you can get it, and you want your essay to be easy to follow. 6, read your response one more time aloud to yourself. Yes, I know. 3 times, Mrs. Wilkerson. Yes, 3 times. It's your response. Don't you like to read what you wrote? All right, read your response one more time aloud to yourself. Whisper read it to make sure it makes sense. Revise and edit sentences that need to be cleared up. If you leave a word out, put it in there. If you read it and you like, man, I don't think that subject verb agrees, or if you just keep repeating the same thing, you want to clear those sentences up. You know what you meant to say, so you should read it aloud to yourself several times to make sure it says exactly what you want it to say. So, after you write your draft, you are going to read your draft over and over again with a magnifying glass like Detective reads a lot, and you're going to make sure it says exactly what you want it to say. You want to make sure that you answered that prompt and you provided enough text evidence to support your understanding. Lastly, you want to check for repetitions or weak words. Use a thesaurus to substitute words for more precise nouns, verbs, and adjectives. And that is the DOC, Development of Ideas, Organizations, and Conventions. This will allow you to write a fantabulous extended constructed response. There you have it, scholars. Thank you for joining me today as we reviewed extended constructed responses. Keep practicing, and until next time, happy reading, happy learning.